training is actually about the work.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a problem that in learning and development that we've got to move away from.
Yes.
Because if we are delivering topic-based training, we're not making that link for them.
Hello and welcome to the Leadership Launchpad. Welcome back to our series of discussions with learning and talent development leaders about what they wish more managers knew about training. This conversation today, I thought, was a really, really good one. It's with a good friend of mine named David James. He's the Chief Learning Officer of 360 Learning. He also hosts a podcast called the Learning and Development Podcast. So he's been spending all kinds of time talking with organizations, leaders. He's seen it from both sides of what good training, what good learning, what good talent development looks like. And I think one of the really important things that he points out, because one of the things that I have found when talking with people is that we tend to have a view of talent development that comes from our background of learning, of education, right? You went to school. School was very devoid of the work that you're actually doing. I know tons of people who have degrees from college and don't use anything from those degrees. And so there's a large separation between learning or formal education and the work. When you get into the corporate world, when we talk about talent and development, training is the work. They should be the same thing. If you are ever asking for training or sitting in training or sending your employees to training where you don't know why they're going to it, you don't know what this has to do with the work, you should raise your hand and ask the question, because ultimately all training should be connected back to the work. It was really a great conversation. I hope you enjoy it.
David, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Matt. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get your thoughts on this question that I'm going to ask you that I'm asking a lot of people, because you get to work with so many different learning and development organizations, whether it's through your full-time role, the podcast, you have all these conversations with people in learning and development across all kinds of industries, all kinds of organizations. And so I really am interested in your take on this idea of what is one thing that you wish managers in organizations knew about training?
So just one thing, Matt, I would say that the one thing is done right is that training is about the work. Or should I say, it is the work.
Yes. Okay. Interesting. So done right.
Yeah.
What does that mean? That's a big phrase.
So that was loaded. I did that on purpose.
Yes.
Everybody's got experiences of training that they've gone on, or perhaps they've sent people to, which it's hard to link to the actual work.
Yeah.
And the reason I pause there is that so many times people say, I don't know why I'm here. If you don't know why you're there in the training, it has nothing to do with your work.
Yeah.
And I think most managers, if they've got an experience either firsthand or via team members where they've sent people away, and it's almost to solve something tertiary, something aside to the work, maybe to fix a peripheral problem. But done right, training is actually about the work.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a problem that in learning and development that we've got to move away from.
Yes.
Because if we are delivering topic-based training, we're not making that link for them. And if we are, it's too flimsy. It's not direct, but done right now, then it is about the work. And I don't think we've got any excuses right now. So I think that any manager now should be thinking, I'm not sending someone to do some training to fix something that is an edge priority. It is actually about the work. It's the priority. And so we shouldn't be distinguishing between learning and working. We should be bringing those two closer together. The learner benefits because they see, oh yeah, that helps with that challenge that I'm facing. Line managers recognize it because then they say, well, this is going to help the person to deliver or to exhibit what we need from them in pursuit of the results that they're expected to achieve. And then everybody recognizes that an investment in time and money around learning is an investment in the way the work is done and the results that are gained.
Yeah, I was actually at a conference last week where I gave a talk where the headline of the talk was do less learning, more training.
Right.
And because I think that's part of that leap there is, as you said, everybody's experienced learning. Everybody's been in education.
Yeah.
Education, because of its nature, it's not in any kind of context. It has to be very broad. It has to be something that's meant to provide you just this baseline of knowledge to then go apply. But we're in the application layer now.
Yeah.
Like we're in the mix of it. And so how have you seen it be successful? Like make that case, because like you said, so many managers maybe have never experienced it. Like, is there an example, or what do you normally do when you're talking to businesses to sell them on this idea of like, no, learning is the business?
So for me, it's all around working on the right things.
Okay.
In learning and development, when we've done a learning needs analysis in the past, it's a resource allocation exercise. Yeah. Enough people have said that this is a need. Here's a program on that. People attend, absorb the content. Good stuff happens.
Yeah.
But that's based on hope. I mean, what else is that actually based on? It's not based on much at all.
I don't know where the quote comes from, but hope is not a strategy.
Exactly. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I know that Danny Johnson and the team at Red Thread published a report called just that last year. So where I've seen it actually work is where learning and development zero in on the actual requirements of a role.
Yeah.
That's why I'm such a big fan of skills-based learning.
Yeah.
Because if you've skills mapped your organization and the skills that come out are in service of the actual work, so you can see anybody inside your organization, that's what they do in order to deliver their results.
Yeah.
And they recognize that as their job.
Yeah.
Imagine then getting the proficiency levels where they are, where they need to be, or where they could be, and they only work on bridging that proficiency gap.
Yeah.
So it speaks the language that they speak in pursuit of their day-to-day work.
Yeah.
Their line manager also speaks to them about that. And so it's just about bridging proficiency gaps.
Yeah.
What that answers as well, Matt, is with the very little time I've got for my development, where should I apply it?
Yeah.
Just on that proficiency gap. That's all you should be really working on. Anything else that takes your interest, by all means, knock your socks off.
Yeah.
But that's where you should be applying your time. And that's how you link it back to the work.
Yeah.
So imagine your skills match your an individual, the team, the department, the entire organization. You can track the progress as well.
Yeah.
That's where we said that people were an individual, team member, the organization, and through their own endeavors by highlighting exactly where they should develop.
Yeah.
This is where the organization is now.
Yeah.
It's more of a data and evidence-based approach to learning and development. And it stops that whole, I don't know why I'm here, when people engage in learning and development.
Yes. I have to dive one layer deeper onto the skills base since you brought it up, because and especially thinking of managers, whether you're individual manager or whole organization, I'm sure we've both seen so many organizations struggle with that mapping because it can almost be fractal. Like you can infinitely zoom in.
Yep.
So thinking specifically to the manager, maybe there isn't a big approach or organizational wide, and I just want to start thinking about mapping skills on my team. What have you found effective about making sure you don't have 400 skills and 80 layers per skill or something? Like what do you see as good bounds for making sure you can map things out realistically, and then you can have this evidence-based or data-driven approach?
So I'd say criticality is important, because you're right. There for any particular role there could be numerous, but what are those that are actually essential for delivering on the job, or even those that are very bespoke to not just the role, but also to the organization. I'm a big fan of linking the technical and the cultural, because in my experience, most development comes from the question, how do I do the right things here in my organization?
100%.
So if we're talking about skill criticality, and you could use free tools such as Skills GPT, where anybody could enter their organization, zero in on any department, any role, and that's going to be about 90% there with what's required. Then everything else is nuance. It might be a new arm of the role. It could be systems, processes, or the way that the organization is structured. But it is just nuance on top. Otherwise, we're talking about the nuts and bolts of what is required to do that job. Yeah. And I think what I love about that is that it's not them relying on learning and development's limited understanding of the technical capability. It's that's already open.
Yeah.
I remember being in meetings with stakeholders, and I'm sure you have, Matt, as well, where well before there was any generative AI, where you'd be talking to the stakeholder and they say, I need development for this team of name the technical spec of the role.
Yeah.
And you're there with your blank piece of paper and you say, so what do they need help on? They start talking technical speak and then you hear, oh, communication then. So there's communication in that. Prioritization, yeah. So you're just picking out what you recognize and then you've filled your page with broad topics around broad skill sets.
Yeah.
Skills GPT blows that out of the water right now.
Yeah.
You talk about what is required to do the actual job so that you don't go with a blank piece of paper. You're talking about what it's actually required.
Oh, okay.
So then when you're looking at proficiency gaps, so you're saying, so where are you saying your people are right now? They said, well, they're novice here, but I need them at proficient. So you say, right, so this is what I'm recognizing as the actual gap. Is there anything else that you recognize as well? So and then giving those people simply that proficiency gap is really powerful because then they see for all of a sudden they see what good looks like. Whereas before it's just this amorphous thing where you need to be better at that or you need to start delivering X and they're like, okay, thanks for the feedback.
And I think that's the heart of the conversation, whether the managers need to have, that training needs to have with managers there is a lot of that just early discussion of define what good looks like.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to assume that we all know what it is, or you'll know it when you see it. But until we can actually know these are the behaviors that mean what good is, and then I can train to that. That's a really critical first part of the conversation.
Yeah, and then you can see that investment in learning and development or investment in training equates to improved performance because we've defined performance. Yeah. Which equates to better results, defined results. And that's all the conversation is about. Yeah. So instead of asking line managers to support learning and development in retaining what was delivered, whether it was useful or not, we're only talking about the work. Yeah. And then people can see that, well, I can engage in that conversation. Line managers say, I can engage in that conversation because I recognize what that is, rather than looking and thinking, right, so how would I apply the project management that you learned in that course to this thing here? I really don't know what was in that course. And then there's a big gap.
Yes. Yeah. That totally, I love this idea of just like training is the business. Like there doesn't need to be a separation there. We're all driving towards the same solution. So
that's right.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the time, David. It's been great chatting.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you so much for listening in on the conversation. I hope you got as much out of it as I did. If you are a manager yourself and you're looking for more insight onto how to better lead your team, please make sure to check out some of our other amazing episodes. If you are responsible for developing leaders in your organization and you're struggling to make programs that actually change behavior and actually impact the business, please reach out so we can figure out how to make your organization better every day. Drop me a line using matt@bettereverydaystudios.com. I look forward to the conversation.